They ain't teach us about money. Nope. They ain't teach us about money. Taught me about fractions, but you ain't teach me about money. Quadratic equations, but you ain't teach me about money. Trigonometry, but you ain't teach me about money. War 1812, but you ain't teach me no money. Now tell me how we supposed to cope when we the most broke folks. They ain't teach us about profit, so we taught ourselves dope just to give ourselves hope to make it out the hood. If it was understood that your jump shot was broke, we was just trying to cope with no hopes of an SP, so my boy chose to sell coke to not work for Pepsi. Hey, he had ice like Gretzky, but now he getting C's like he got epilepsy. Cause they ain't teach us about money, they ain't teach us about taxes, they ain't teach us about nothing. That's why we was stealing, that's why we was killing, that's why we was struggling and two-job juggling. Cause they ain't teach us about money, they ain't teach us investments, they ain't teach us about nothing. That's why we was broke, that's why we was slaving 2014, still living like cavemen. Cause they ain't teach us about money, they ain't teach us about banks, they ain't teach us about nothing. That's why we was dealing, that's why we in prison, that's why we was hustling and out here struggling. Cause they ain't teach us about money, they ain't teach us about loans, they ain't teach us about nothing. That's why we was stunting, that's why we was fronting, that's why we buy it all but we don't own nothing. Now I ain't knocking school, I'm really knocking poverty. Heard I was broke and it really kinda bothered me. And TO2, money ain't everything but it's like O2. So we drowning in debt, you see us gasping for air. With hundreds of shoes and not an asset to spare. Then we purchase some watches but never purchase a share. Laughing stock of the world but don't nobody care. Cause they don't teach us about money, they don't teach us investments, they don't teach us about nothing. That's why we lack unity, that's why we lack community, that's why we hate our jobs but we fear opportunity. Cause they don't teach us about nothing, they don't teach us about freedom, they don't teach us about nothing. That's why we got these liabilities that hinder our abilities to set ourselves free and gain back our liberty. Cause they don't teach us about money, they don't teach us about stocks, they don't teach us about nothing. That's why we get fired, that's why we ain't inspired, that's why our granny working when she's supposed to be retired. Cause they don't teach us about money, they don't teach us about loans, they don't teach us about nothing. So we rap but don't own the music. And we play and don't own a team. And we work just to pay the bills. It's like we sleep and don't own a dream.